Hello, I'm Dr. Greg Church with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service in Collin County. I'm the County Extension Agent for Horticulture, and I'd like to talk briefly about saving water in the lawn and landscape. So why should we save water? Well, it can be very wasteful. There's different application methods that can cause the wasting of water. As you can see in some of these pictures, the throwing of water or dispersing of water up into the atmosphere and assuming that the gravity is going to pull it down to the ground, that can be misleading. As you can see, that the wind and heat can cause evaporation and dispersion of the water to where it doesn't reach its intended place in the lawn or landscape. And so we can use more efficient methods that are more water conserving. So Texas has experienced severe droughts for the last 3 to 4 years. This is the current U.S. drought monitoring map for Texas as of March 25th, 2014. So we're currently in a severe drought. This is the Drought Outlook provided by the National Weather Service. And this is what's predicted for the U.S. As you can see, the persistence of drought throughout the Southwest will continue. Here in Collin County, it suggests that drought removal will be likely. However, I've seen that indication for many years now, and we've continued in drought, so I think this can be misleading. This gives an indication of how much rain is needed to get us out of the drought, and for Collin County, it roughly says 6 to 9 inches. And in Collin County, our water supply is not in very healthy supply. This shows many years worth of data over the Lake Lavon levels, which is the primary lake that provides water for the North Texas Municipal Water District. And the dark line at the very bottom there that's shaded, that represents our current water supply. As you can see, it's actually stayed pretty much the same since late September of last year. And so we haven't had any significant rain to actually increase the level. You can see in past years, even during drought years, we've actually been able to recharge the lake with water because of significant rainfall. But during 2013 and 2014, we haven't had any significant rain to fill the lake. This is a relatively recent image of the lake. It hasn't changed much. We should be thankful it hasn't gone down much more, but we're about 12 feet below the conservation pool, and so that's significant for Lake Lavon. We also have the issue of invasive species, particularly the zebra mussel, which has affected the ability of the North Texas Municipal Water District to transport water between lakes. And this can cause environmental damage, but it's particularly important for our water supply because it can clog the pipes. And within this year 2014, they discovered that zebra mussels were in fact in Lake Lavon. The growth of population within Collin County has continued steadily for many decades, and so we are very dependent on the availability of water supply in order to support the increase in population. This shows the population density within Collin County up to the year 2030. They predict that the population will rise up to over 1 million people. Currently, it's over 800,000. This is the 2011 Regency Plan for the North Texas Municipal Water District, and the red line indicates our current water supply, and the black line indicates the growth in demand. It also indicates additional lakes that will be available in the future for the water district. Water restrictions do continue for the last 3 to 4 years. You can check out the North Texas Municipal Water District for more information about the current water restrictions. Currently, those vary by municipality, so you should check with them. We're currently in Stage 3 water restrictions, and currently you can water once every other week or twice a month, or as needed. So the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service has developed a program to address a lot of the environmental issues facing the lawn and the landscape, and it's called EarthKind Environmental Stewardship. It's a landscape management system focused on preserving and protecting the environment. And we have a lot of goals and purposes for the program, including environmental stewardship, eliminating or reducing the use of pesticide and fertilizers, and reducing water use and surviving droughts, which we'll focus on in this presentation. We also encourage recycling of yard waste, lowering maintenance, and beautifying the landscape. The program is based on 7 basic principles that include planning and design, appropriate plant selection, practical turf areas, soil analysis and preparation, efficient irrigation, the use of mulches, and appropriate maintenance. And these are very similar to xeriscaping. Creating a water-efficient landscape begins with a well-thought-out landscape design. A plan should incorporate all the principles and practices of EarthKind, including incorporating drought-tolerant plants into your design, only utilizing practical areas for turfgrass, and we recommend 1/3 of the landscape being turfgrass. Using good soil preparation, using an efficient irrigation system, and utilizing mulch within the landscape beds. Appropriate plant selection is very important. Selecting those drought-tolerant plants can have a tremendous impact on your ability to save water. And Texas is blessed with an abundance of beautiful native plants and adapted plants that lower water demands, have fewer pests and disease problems, and need less soil modification or fertilizers. When designing a landscape, you should try to incorporate as much landscape beds as possible to reduce your turfgrass area, because turfgrass does require a lot more water and maintenance efforts. To increase your plant's health and to conserve water, we recommend that you incorporate at least 3 inches of compost to the soil of shrub and flower bed areas. This increases the soil's ability to absorb and store water in a form that's available to plants. We encourage the use of a layer of organic mulch to cover the soil surface around the plants. This helps to reduce moisture evaporation from the soil surface, but it has a lot of other benefits such as reducing weed population, prevent soil compaction, moderate soil temperatures, and as it breaks down, releases nutrients to the plants. Lawn water conservation starts with grass selection. It's important to consider selecting grass that has significant amount of drought tolerance. Lawns require more frequent watering and maintenance than most other landscape plants. And you should carefully select a grass according to its intended use. So if you have a lot of foot traffic or pets, you may want to use a grass that has more wear tolerance. Also consider the planting location. If you need to have a shade tolerant grass, it's important to make sure you get that. Some grasses require more maintenance, fertilizer, mowing, and so it's good to consider all those factors. So make sure that you consider a grass that has the lowest water use and is adapted to your region. Also try to reduce those water sensitive lawn areas by using patios, incorporating patios, decks, shrub beds, and ground covers into your landscape design. To This gives a relative comparison of different turf grasses and their drought tolerance. Buffalo grass is actually the only native turf grass to Texas, and it has the highest drought tolerance. Common Bermuda and Zoysia are very highly drought tolerant grasses. Most of the water applied to lawns and gardens is never absorbed by plants and put to use, and so it's important to provide that water as efficiently as possible. A lot of that water is lost to runoff because it's supplied too rapidly, and a lot of the water evaporates from exposed unmulched soil. And the greatest waste of water is from applying too much too often. So we encourage you to consider watering your grasses and other plants deeply and infrequently. This creates a deep root system that's more efficient to obtain that water. And by watering deeply and infrequently, you actually develop a better root system that's able to persist with the lack of rainfall. It's also important to consider only watering your plants when you observe the plants are wilting or discolored and show some signs of water stress. So if you only water as needed and thoroughly produce a deep root system, then you're more efficient and the plants can endure the droughts. It's important to note that irrigation systems are intended to provide only supplemental irrigation in the absence of rainfall. Drip irrigation offers increased water efficiency and plant performance when compared to sprinkler systems. We encourage you to replace the sprinkler heads in your flower beds with drip irrigation to save water and water more efficiently. The most water is saved by actually reducing the frequency of watering. You can convert your drip irrigation beds by utilizing a variety of products on the market that can convert those spray heads into a drip system. And here's some examples of products that you could use. Here's a conversion adapter that converts to from a spray head into a drip system. Here's an example of how you may set up a drip irrigation system with inline drip tubing. If you were to cut up the drip tubing, you would see the inline emitter inside, and this helps to provide a more pressure compensated source of water out of each emitter. Essentially, that means that you get the same amount of water out of each of the emitters throughout the tubing. The drip tubing comes in a variety of different spacing, where the emitters are spaced every 12, 18, 24, and 26 inches apart, and there's a lot of manufacturers that produce this type of product. You should also consider subsurface drip irrigation for your lawns. This is where the tubing is installed under the ground, and so the roots can obtain water directly from the drip. And it's much more efficient because you don't have the water's not impacted by heat, wind, and evaporation. It's important to have a properly designed irrigation system. That's how you can have the most efficient system. So an improperly designed system is going to be very inefficient. So it's important to utilize a licensed irrigator for design or repair work. It's also important to consider having an irrigation audit performed annually to make sure your irrigation system's working properly. So a licensed irrigator can perform that. There's also certified licensed irrigation auditors. It's important to actually run the system monthly to prevent any water waste. And each month during the day you can run the system to test it out and to adjust any sprinkler heads so they're not watering sidewalks or driveways or other hard surfaces. Adjust sprinklers so they spray larger water drops instead of a fine mist. water in the early morning to avoid excess waste of water through evaporation. And you may consider converting your sprinkler heads to a multi-stream rotor head, and you can save as much as 30% on your water use. An irrigation audit consists of running the system with catch cans strategically placed within that zone. And so you run the system to determine how much water is being received by each of those catch cans, and you can actually measure the efficiency of the system throughout that zone. During the process of an irrigation audit, you actually find those problems that are occurring within the system, and you can repair them. Here's some examples of different problems occurring in an irrigation system. And so an irrigation audit is really important to stop the waste of that water and to utilize that water more efficiently. The multi-stream rotor head is the most efficient type of sprinkler head. It emits the water through small streams of water, and the water droplets are larger, so they're more likely to carry more weight and hit the ground and not experience so much evaporation and effects of wind. It's important to know how to properly use your irrigation controller or timer. So make sure you read the manual to know how to properly set it. It's important to know how to set a cycle and soak program. Some of the different controllers will actually do that automatically for you, but if not, you can set up multiple start times. The point of the cycle and soak feature is that because of our heavy clay soil, won't accept the water very quickly. You have to put the water out in short bursts, and then you actually go over the entire sprinkler system or the zones at least twice or even more times to try to put out the water and get it to soak down into the soil. So you can save the most water by actually only turning on the system as needed. So learn how to operate the controller, turn off that automatic feature and put it in manual mode, or turn it off and only run it when you need to. Make sure you use that cycle and soak feature or create your own custom cycle and soak program. Determine the run times with an irrigation audit. Really, that's the only way you can actually properly establish your run times. And really, each zone is going to be likely a little bit different based on the amount of water that it puts out. Some of the newer controllers can help save water. They generally call those ET controllers. That stands for Evapotranspiration. And they utilize the calculation of evapotranspiration occurring on a daily basis with a weather station. And then they tell your controller how frequently you need to water. Some recent research has suggested that they aren't as efficient in saving water, and so it's important to dial back that controller so it's not putting out as much water. It's important to conserve water with your trees and shrubs. Water established trees, shrubs, and ground covers deeply and infrequently, just like your lawn. In the absence of rain, most trees and shrubs benefit from a once-a-month thorough watering through the growing season. It's important to apply that water just inside and a little beyond the drip line, but not at the trunk. Use a slow-running hose on the ground or move it around the drip line as needed until that area becomes saturated 6 to 10 inches deep. A soaker hose, like in this picture, put in a spiral around a tree, can put out that water without having to move a hose around. The way to test whether it has saturated the soil down to 6 inches is to use a 6-inch screwdriver. Or heavy clay soil, when it's dry, you won't be able to punch the screwdriver through the soil, but as it becomes wet, it'll slide in easily. So that's a way to determine if you've watered enough. You can install different types of systems to water your trees. Check with your local irrigation supplier or installer to find out if they can help you install a drip system. Additional information can be found at the following websites. I appreciate you listening to this video. Feel free to contact us if you need more information.